In today's video, Dan and I are going to be discussing the lessons we've learned over the years playing poker and how we apply that to our NFT trading strategy. Nothing we say in today's video is financial advice. Please do your own research. Most importantly, like the stream, subscribe to our channel, head to Flowlio.com for all of your NFT needs. Dan, how are we doing on this beautiful Tuesday?
Doing good. It was my birthday 2 days ago, so I am now
Oh, happy
officially.
belated birthday.
Yeah, thank you. I'm now 25, so that's a rough number to deal with, I suppose.
Dude, shut up. I'm gonna be 37 in like a month and a
Hey.
half, so you can just stop it.
Okay, deal. So we were going to be talking about some market news and then some of the poker stuff. Where do you want to start us off with?
Let's jump into market news. The biggest news over the last 48 hours has been the drop of Art Gobblers. This is a project by the creator of Rick and Morty. He dropped this. It was a free mint, collection size of about 1,700, I want to say. And the floor right now is north of 12 ETH. It peaked around 15, 12 and a half right now. Already 7,300 ETH in volume traded. It hasn't even been out for a full 24 hours yet. It launched yesterday afternoon at about 4 o'clock Eastern time. So we still got a few more hours. So it's a day old, and it already is blowing up. Unique owners of 65%. Like I said, a ton of volume. It was a free mint, but they've already made close to $1 million in secondary revenue. So, good on them there. A lot of controversy, I think unwarranted, around who got the whitelist spot for these. There was some big name, influencers who did. Some of them, I don't really need to get into that. Like, I think that's been kind of overblown and beaten to death. But, you can't say that. I don't think you can say it's going to be a rug pull. I think this is going to be a solid, art focused project. I will not be buying into it because I just don't want to put that amount of money into something right now. But it's, I think it's cool. I think, we're seeing a expansion of who's coming in to create NFTs. I know the guy behind it, Justin. I don't know him personally, but I know that he's been involved in NFTs prior. So it's not like he's like out of nowhere and this is like some kind of rug pull or anything. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. I don't know if you have any additional context you want to add, Dan.
Yeah, I agree. I guess I'm not like a huge fan when projects just reach out to influencers and give them spots, I guess. It's understandable. I just personally not a huge fan. There was a lot of drama on social media because some of the people, some of the influencers that got spots, they sold their gobbler on the market like 5 minutes after mint, which is understandable. Like it was like 15, 14 ETH back then. Like makes sense, right?
Yeah, I think this kind of leads into a bigger discussion that I've been having with people about how NFT marketing is done and why at Flowlio we're trying to get performance marketing going is that like it doesn't make sense to me that people are compensated for their marketing efforts or for being influencers through an asset from the project that they then have to turn around and sell. Like name a different industry that does that. Like if you look at influencers on any other social media platform, it's not like the ones who are let's use like a watch, for example, right? Ones that are doing ad for like a watch. It's not like their compensation is they get sent a watch and then they got to sell it somewhere, right? Like they just get paid to promote it. And I think that's where we need to move to in NFTs. And so, the sooner we get away from this style of marketing, the better, in my opinion.
No, I agree. And it's a great analogy. Just like there's a lot of like advertisement on social media about like makeup products. And it's not like like you mentioned, they get sent it and then they have to sell the product themselves. Like it's kind of odd. So it changes.
Yeah, I know a guy who's like a fitness influencer, and he does promos for like these companies that like have sell meat. Like it's like one of these farms, and then you have like a monthly subscription. You get like a box of meat every month. It's not like his compensation is they send him half a cow, and he has to walk door to door selling ribeyes to his neighbors. Like that would be ridiculous. So I think hopefully we can just like move on, get past this, and start having some fun again on that front. Let's get into. I mean, it wouldn't be a show of ours if we didn't talk about Wolf Games. So I'll let you jump into that.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's news. It's news. So this is something we talked about last week. So we mentioned that there's this blockchain game night hosted by Wolf Game, And the first three people that are going to be, or like projects that are going to be on the game show, is first of all Cool Cats, and then Nifty League, and then Art Gobblers. So it's definitely like a decent lineup already. I think I'm personally very excited to hear Cool Cats and Art Gobblers speak. Nifty League, I'm personally not familiar with, but people have been telling me that they're quite a large project. Not necessarily a high floor price, but definitely a large one. So I'm interesting. I'm interested to see more of the people that are lined up for the show.
Okay, that should be. And is it how many? Do we know how many guests total it's going to be?
I think someone mentioned there's going to be like one every half an hour or something. So we've got plenty to go, like 8 or 9 left to go.
Okay, very cool. And then lastly, before we get into the fun part of today's show, not that this hasn't been fun, Imaginary Ones and Hugo Boss have a collaboration for 1,000 pieces. And, so far it seems to be going quite well, Dan.
Yeah, I think it has like a 0.8 floor on the collaboration. And it is their description on OpenSea is a collaboration between Hugo and Imaginary Ones to create an NFT collection that focuses on embracing your emotions or something. And I dove in and I checked out the original Imaginary Ones collection, and to my surprise, they are actually doing well. So they've had like 30 or 40 sales every single day, floor of like 0.6. I'm surprised.
Okay. Yeah, and one thing I like about it is that the creator fee is only 5%. We see on a lot of these collaborations, a 10% creator fee. And that's a bit excessive in my opinion. But so far that's going well. So let's get into what we really want to talk about today. You and I both have a history of playing poker. I played professionally for 4 years and I did quite well. I wasn't good enough to be able to make it a long-term career. I knew that I didn't have the skill to be able to support, a family and everything by playing poker, but it served me well for a number of years. And as I've gotten deeper into NFTs and markets in general, it's very clear that there's a ton of parallels between poker, strategy, concepts, and being involved in these markets. So I think it's gonna be fun to kind of get into that.
Yeah, and I'm a losing Micros player, so there you go. So we've got both sides of the coin.
Okay, beautiful. So let's start it off. Why don't you go first with the first kind of parallel that you see between the two?
Yeah, I mean this is probably, in my opinion, the most obvious one, which is fold pre. This is a term that's been used a lot to just kind of say like, don't play every single hand you get, right? So be more careful with what you're playing. And this is fold pre and parentheses reveal, so pre-reveal. So many people play the rarity gamble game, and for no real reason other than, hey, maybe I'll get lucky. Maybe I will be that 0.1% that's actually going to pull a 1 out of 1 and then make hella money, right? Well, newsflash, you're not gonna do that like ever, I guess. Like maybe if there's 10,000 projects and you buy every one of those and then hold until reveal, you might actually eventually maybe get one. At the end of the day, even if you do it, you might still lose money, like if you tally everything up. So in my opinion, evaluate the project and then think to yourself, is this going to be like a long-term hold? Is this something that you probably should sell before reveal? And ask yourself, like, what is the reason why I'm holding this until reveal? And if the true answer to that is, well, maybe I'll get lucky, then you should probably sell.
So going along with the folding pre-reveal, I would also say that this applies to knowing, which hands to play as far as, am I even going to mint this project, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we see so often that maybe it's just another copycat mint. Maybe it's just following the current meta of, whether it's anime or female focused or the cute PFPs. Like, is this one have any unique parts to it that are going to allow it to even, appreciate in value pre-reveal? So that's the one thing I want to add to that one. For me, the biggest thing off the bat is knowing how to manage your bankroll. When I was playing poker full time, that was a very important thing for me. Is I wanted to make sure that I had a big enough bankroll to withstand some of the downswings, because those are going to happen, withstand fluctuations in the NFT market in this standpoint. And, you kind of look at it in a few different ways. Like, number one, how much percentage of my overall investing portfolio am I willing to put into NFTs, into crypto? And I would say that, NFT wise, it needs to be the smallest of really anything, because it is the highest risk asset. Now, that also gets into what your time horizon is, what your risk tolerance is, all these different things. And then, within NFTs, how much of that bankroll are you going to put into each individual project? Like, do you want to spread it out and try to hit, a smaller, like a larger amount, but for smaller, potential return? Or do you want to concentrate your bets into a few areas? I personally think, to get the most out of it, I would rather focus on a handful of projects, let's say 4 to 6, than spread it out over dozens of them. So,
Yeah.
edging your bankroll between all of the different markets, and then within them, managing that individual allocation as well.
Yeah, definitely sound advice. So one of mine would be understand your ranges, or at least like know your range. So this is in poker, it refers to which types of hands you would play in a certain position. Position meaning like the seat on the table. Of course, there's no seat on the table at NFTs, but we just forget about that for a tiny second. So here, I just kind of split them up in like great hands and slightly worse hands. So the quote unquote blue chips would be great hands. They're they're easy to play in most positions, and they're quite safe. So they are less risky, right? They're at the end of the day, they're just less risky. And these newly minted out projects, fresh projects, lower social following, less engagement, they're slightly more risky. So I would like going like talking about my previous advice about folding pre. I think that you should also know what to do when you have these newly minted projects, right? So they're risky. So understand what you're going to do. So understand your ranges, and quote unquote blue chips, safe to play, less risky, and newly minted out projects more risky. That's my advice, or at least my tip, I guess.
Yeah, no, I like that for sure. My next one is knowing how to separate, your emotions from the money. Too often people sit down at a poker table, whether they're playing, a tournament, whatever, and they can't separate the dollar value from the chips in front of them. As soon as that cash goes into chips, it's no longer cash. Then it becomes a tool for you to use to try to make as much money as possible, right? So you have to be willing to take a risk. If you're looking at these projects and you're saying to yourself, "Oh man, this is going to this is the amount of money I'm going to have to put in this NFT or in this investment. That's like my mortgage for the month or my car payment for the month." Number one, that goes back to my first tip of managing your bankroll. You're probably over invested. But two, you have to be able to, make those bets and trust that, you're not going to win them every time, right? Like you're not going to win every poker hand. You can get it in good as many times as you want. And in the long run, you'll come out ahead, but it's not going to work
Yeah.
every time. You have to be willing to make some bets and let them play out. And I see this the most with people who panic when they fall into, FOMO. When they see something going up, they buy not knowing what they're buying, and they don't let things play out. They just let themselves get spooked when prices start to come back down, which is inevitably going to happen when they see the influencers who are dying for attention tweeting FUD out about a project just to get likes, on social media. So understand how to separate that emotion and have your belief behind it and let things begin to play out.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because you were basically talk about mine as well, and mine is getting your money in good, which is pretty funny, and it's true because like you said earlier, sometimes you have like a 55% chance to win at poker. At least in NFTs, it's hard to give it like a percentage, right? But
Yeah,
and you end up losing. That happens. That's just how it goes. But it's all about making the right choices, and this is where your conviction plays really come into play. If you're convinced that, let's say, NFT like gaming is the true future, you're getting your money in good. You think that's the way to go. So you're following that sentiment. And hey, sometimes it doesn't work out, but as long as you're sticking to your conviction, that's just all you can do.
very good. So last one is going to be knowing when to switch gears. When you're in a poker game, you have to kind of feel what is going on at the table around you. Obviously, for that parallel, we're looking at like the market as a whole. If you're in a poker game and everyone is really, really tight, it makes sense to be a little bit more loose and try to take advantage of those spots. If everyone is really loose, it makes sense to tighten up more. Same thing applies to the markets, right? If the NFT market is super, super tight, that doesn't necessarily mean go crazy with it, but do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. When everyone is feeling euphoric, that's probably a good time to tighten things up. And we saw that play out over the last year when there was euphoria around a number of different projects, Bored Apes, Cool Cats, whatever. When it got to that point where you were taking screenshots of how much your assets were worth, that was your indication that it was time to sell. And now we're at a point where everyone is, very, very down. I'm not saying now is the time to buy anything, but if you believe in NFTs long term, if you believe in crypto long term, we're probably getting to that point where it makes sense to slowly adding back into your portfolio. So doing the opposite of the herd is going to be your best bet in the long run.
Yeah, and something that we saw in this example as well with the knowing when to switch gear is that there was a long period of time where like so many people would hold for a rarity reveal, and then it would reveal and prices would be slashed in half or something, right? So if something was like 1 ETH, it would reveal, bang, and the floor went down to 0.5. So knowing when to switch gear is understanding that people are gamblers, right? People gamble too much, so they wait for that reveal. So you would have way better margins selling pre-reveal. So again, this is, I guess, zooming out a bit, knowing when to switch gears. I definitely agree.
Okay, that does it for our 6 ways that we view the market from the lens of playing poker and how we apply those in different situations. Any final thoughts, Dan, before we get out of here?
I would say check out our website, flowlio.com. It's amazing.
There you go. Follow us on Twitter. I am at Jweb777. That is at Dan Locke, LAAQ. That guy, that guy over here. Follow us on Twitter. We do a Friday Twitter Spaces where we talk about the NFT market a little more in depth as far as what's going on throughout the week. Love for you to join us for that. And yeah, head to Flowlio.com for all of your NFT portfolio management needs. For Dan, for the team at Flowlio, once again, please subscribe to our channel. Appreciate all of that very much, and all the viewers out there. You guys are the best. We will be back next time.
Bye-bye.